Okay, this is Mr. Tomachko's Photoshop demonstration on the high pass filter. So here I have a picture of Mr. Kress, and you'll see it's a little bit dark, but I'm okay with that. I find that this technique works best if your picture is a little bit on the dark side. If it's at all overexposed, it doesn't show up as good. This technique is designed to bring out texture, so you'll see he's got some good textures here in his beard scruff and the pores of his skin and the hair on top of his head, and we're going to try to accentuate that texture with this technique. So the first thing I want to do is I want to copy this layer. So I can do it a number of ways. I can just Control J and copy the layer, or I can do it through the menus at the top. But either way, you want to have two of the same picture, two layers. So let me just grab my move tool here. You'll see that I have on top of this picture the exact same picture. So now that we have two of the same pictures, one on top of each other, I'm going to desaturate the top picture. So you can do it a couple different ways, and you can go right through your image adjustments tab and you could just click desaturate, or you can go image adjustments, hue and saturation, and you could just take the saturation of that layer and lower it all the way down to 0, or minus 100 I should say. You do not want to go image mode grayscale, because that will make the entire document black and white, so both layers will be black and white. And you do not want to add a black and white adjustment layer. That would be bad because it wouldn't work for this technique. So I have a black and white picture on top of a color picture. The top picture has been desaturated, the bottom picture is still color. I'm going to go to my filter menu, and all the way at the bottom where it says Other, I'm going to go to the high pass filter. And let me zoom out on my preview a little bit. In fact, I'll just move the window over to the side. You want to set the radius so that you start developing little halos around your subject. So you can see this little white halo that develops around the edge of his face. It usually shows up somewhere around 50 or 60 pixels. And this is where you have to experiment with your picture. So let's say I set this one to about 75 pixels. Click OK. So now I have a picture with this high pass filter on it sitting directly on top of a regular color picture. And I'm going to combine those two layers by changing the blend mode of the top layer. So you make sure the top layer, layer number 1, is highlighted blue, which means it's active. Go to my blend mode, and I'm going to choose a blend mode called, and that changes this picture. Let me just make this a little bit bigger so we can see it. That changes the picture so you can really see the pores and the beard and the hair and the skin tone and all that stuff. I'll shut off the high pass filter. This was before we did any editing, and this is with the editing. So my guess is that the high pass filter we used was probably a little too high in terms of the radius of the pixels. So I can just go back in my history and I can reapply the high pass filter with a lower radius of pixels. So let's try somewhere around 60. You'll see it kind of flattens it out a little bit. Repeat the last step, change the blend mode to hard light, and that looks a little bit better. So again, this technique is designed to bring out and accentuate detail. I've used this technique on a lot of different kinds of pictures, and some it looks great on, some it looks absolutely terrible on. So it's just a technique that you can experiment with and have a little bit of fun. So that is a high pass filter. Hope you enjoyed this screencast.